Okay. Hi, everyone. So I'm so like happy. I always listen to people on Torah anytime, and they always have this class is dedicated, and I've never really do that. So it was so nice because Suzanne gave a beautiful donation, and we are dedicating this class in merit of her father's yurtzeit, and his name is Zev Ben Yitzchak Mendel Halevi, which makes sense to me because Suzanne, you are from that family of Kedusha. Like I can understand how he is a Levi. Okay, so are you ready? So it should be an aliyah to his neshama. And what we're doing is we're continuing.
Main.
Yes, I'll make our Shema class. Okay, so it's a very, very, very interesting. So if you look, I'm looking at in the sitter right now. So if anybody wants, like join me, and we're in that second paragraph where it says Vahaya im shamo tishma'u, and it will be if you will listen to all the mitzvahs that Hashem has given to you. So we've said Shema. We know we have to love Hashem and give Him our soul and our heart and all of our character traits or all of our finances, like wherever we go, we're connected. All right. So now Hashem is telling you, okay, good. I want you to know that in Judaism, there is something called reward and punishment. Okay. All words that nobody likes to talk too much about. Maybe the word reward, punishment, nobody likes. Okay. So maybe we'll look at the word punishment, and another substitute is the word consequence. Okay. That there really are consequences for our actions. Now, do we believe that? Yes. Okay. So even if you're not like, it's interesting today how there is a war against this concept of consequence. Like it's actually like I feel like there's two warring factions. Like once upon a time, it was very obvious that if somebody did something wrong, you know what I mean, there was a consequence. Like if you robbed or you raped or you this or you that, that there should be a consequence. If you broke the law, there should be a consequence. Today, that isn't as certain as it once upon a time was. Okay. So when you start living in an environment where things are twisted, like you could steal as long as it's under 9,000, I mean, $900, you know what I mean? All these different twists on what is, you know what I mean? You can murder someone and you could say, well, really, they deserved it. Like there's like a lot of strange things going on today that we've never had before, right? There's actually like a subculture that's like, if you don't get your way, you can kill someone. If people don't listen, God forbid, you can kill them. Like this idea of reward and consequence isn't so clear as it once upon a time was. And today, actually, even in the world of reward, sometimes you're rewarding people for the silliest things. It was interesting. I asked somebody whose son just started high school. So he said to the mother, it's so much harder than elementary because elementary, they just like, they gave you grades just because you showed up. Now I actually have to do some work. You know what I'm trying to say? So, like, really, I wish I was kidding, but I think in our minds, all this stuff is very distorted. And once upon a time, like God's reality is, I hate to break it to you, but I am the boss. Like, who was telling me that? Oh, I know who told me that. My sister-in-law works for Turo College. Okay, she works for Turo College, she's a fundraiser. Okay, and she's worked for OHEL also as a fundraiser. So she did her a favor for her nephew, okay? And she got the nephew a job over the summer in OHEL, okay? So the CEO of the company comes in. His name's Dave, but I don't, it was worth a lot of money, this guy, okay? So her nephew goes like this. Hi, bro, what's up?
Did he?
To the CEO, okay? And the CEO turned around and said, I don't want you to refer to me like that. I'm not your bro. It's like a 15-year-old punky kid, okay? Hi, bro, what's up? To the CEO of the company, okay? All right. And my sister-in-law, when the CEO walked out, so my nephew said, what's wrong with that guy? We're all equal. So my sister-in-law said, yes, And no, not here, not in this business. We're equal in the eyes of Hashem, maybe, you know what I mean? But we're not all equal right here in our accomplishments and in our knowledge, right? And don't think that you know the same amount of stuff, so to speak, as Dave, the CEO of this company. And that's not the way you refer to him. He isn't your bro. Okay, now it was really hard. She told me, she was laughing how hard it was to really explain that to him. Like he wasn't giving up on the concept. Like I'm the same as him. He's no better than me. He doesn't know anything better. Blah, 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 blah. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Okay. So when you're looking at this part of the Shema, like Hashem is trying to say, and it's one of the 13 principles of faith, that God says there is consequences to what you do. Why is that important? Why doesn't God just say, what the heck, you can be, what was the story in Pinocchio, when he runs away to that island where all the boys end up turning into donkeys, really deep mushal that I'm giving here. But trying to talk about like everybody gets just to do what they want. And then at the end, the consequences is you're just a donkey. Really, that's the reality. That's what that story was trying to tell you. Okay. So why is Hashem so particular, so to speak? Why is Hashem so on us? Like, yeah, you do the right thing, you're going to get rewards. I'm telling you, you're going to get eternity, right? You do the wrong thing, there is a consequence. And I am going to redirect you. I'm not taking you out. It's not that, there's a consequence, bam, and you're finished, but I'm going to redirect you. And I'm going to try to help you get back to where you are supposed to be. Why is that a good thing?
Because he cares for us.
Okay. So one thing, it shows that he cares for you. What else does it show?
We're human. We're supposed to make mistakes.
Okay, we're supposed to make mistakes. It's part of the program, and he's going to try to help you correct those mistakes. What's he trying to tell you when he says these things? And this is the number one thing. What you do matters. Okay? Now, I think a lot of people in the world today don't think that what they do matters. Right? I'm being real. Okay? So it sounds very funny, but when people walk around or they throw things out of their car, like they finish their whatever chocolate bar and they throw it like the wrappers out of the car, or there's cigarette butts everywhere or whatever it is, that's because they don't think anything matters. So Hashem has the exact opposite view. What you do matters. Who does it matter to? To who?
To
Hashem. It matters to Hashem. Why does it matter to Hashem? Who else?
To us.
To us. Let's all be real. What we do matters because you're here for a job, right? That's to make you be the best you. And when you start doing all the things that are not good for you, does it have a consequence? Yeah. And it matters. You think it doesn't matter? It does matter. You stay up all night, matters. You pig out, matters. You don't get sleep, matters. All the things. You're not nice to other people, matters. It changes your relationships. There are consequences. Okay? So Hashem is saying you are important to me, right? Whose behavior matters a lot to you? Your children. You feel bad when the next door neighbor's kid's a brat, but when it's your kid that's a brat, it feels much more important. So Hashem is trying to tell you, I want you guys to know. B'ni B'chori Yisrael. The first time it's written in the Chumash is in Shemos. I love it. Hashem says, the Jewish people, they matter, and every Jew matters because they are B'ni, my children, B'chori, the first of my children, the firstborn. Okay? That matters. Why is a firstborn child, boy or girl, matter more than the second or the third or the fourth? What's so great about the firstborn child?
They're the first.
And what happened when they're the first?
You're made an example.
Very dear.
Yeah, they're very dear. Guess what? They made you a parent for the first time. Like, that's a big deal. Who remembers their first? You had a lot of time. You gave them all the attention. Nobody else was around. All right. So that first is a big deal. Okay. So Shem says to King Paro, don't think this is a small thing. You have enslaved my nation, and they are my first. All right, those are my b'ni b'chori Yisrael. So there's like a story that this kid, he's playing with his friends, and they're playing near the street. All right, and there's a lot of like parked cars. You know how bad it is, like when they're playing, the ball gets lost, it goes across the street, and they run. This one kid, we'll call him Shlomi. Shlomi just runs across the street to get the ball, and he's not looking both ways, and he's just running into the street. And when there's cars that are parked, the cars that are coming down, they don't have a very good view of this kid running across, right? So the first car that goes by goes honk, and makes this huge honk to scare him. Like, don't do that. Like, what are you doing? Honk. Okay, second car that goes by, right? Opens up the window and starts screaming. Like, what are you doing, kid? You're running into the street. You're going to get yourself killed. And the third car that runs by stops the car. The guy gets out, goes over to Shlomi, and takes him over to the other side of the street and really gives a good, speech to him. What's the difference between the three people? The third one was his dad. Okay, that's the difference. Okay. So that is the reality of what is going on here. So Hashem is saying, you know what? Yeah, you listen, you do all the mitzvahs, you'll be connected to me. It'll be amazing, right? You'll love me and I'll love you, and you'll like be there with me, with your heart and with your soul. I will give you all the blessings you need. Okay. Right? I will give you what I hold the key to that no one else in the world has: rain, parnasa, the economy of the world. All right. I will give you that, and you will harvest, and you will get everything you need. V'achalta v'savata, right? You'll eat and you will be full. And then it says, but be very careful. Why do you have to be so careful when you have everything you want? I mean, I would think I would just be having a big party. Why is God suddenly cautioning us? Be very careful.
Granted.
And
There's no value.
once you take it all for granted, like what's the big problem they say about society today? We have too much time on our hand. Okay. Everybody else, it was very funny, was busy surviving. Okay. Like, my parents never went on a vacation. They didn't even know what it was. You know what I'm saying? Like, they had no idea. You know what I'm trying to say? People were very busy surviving. You're busy surviving. You don't have time to like think about 100 other ways to keep playing and having fun. And then when you're bored, you need something more and more and more and more, right? So Hashem is saying, listen, everybody be very careful, because when things are going too good, you tend to forget that there is even a
Hashem.
yeah, and
Hashem.
now I forget. So now look what it says here, which is very like interesting. Okay. So it says here, because, just be very careful, watch, because your heart can start turning, and you'll start to serve other gods. So what did we always say the definition of other gods is? As Jews, like you're watching it in history here, we are this is no trick questions. Okay, you're sitting here in history. All right. So what are the Jewish people doing? Who are they worshiping? Like, let's be honest, we can be honest.
The isms.
Yeah, all the isms: feminism, materialism, socialism, this ism, that. Like, look at this. Mondami, right? Okay, is a democratic socialist who outright, openly says, he isn't against jihad. Jihad, is it? Against the whole world. He was fine with it. Okay? Like, they were trying to get him to condemn it, and he wouldn't condemn it. Right? He wouldn't condemn it. 30% of the Jews in New York voted for him.
Yeah.
Some of them in my family.
What? Yeah, some in your family.
Some of them in my family.
Yeah, like, I mean, that's a hard one to swallow. It's a hard one to swallow, right? Just a hard one to understand, swallow. So what happened? You started to worship something completely different. You don't remember. Nebuch, that you're a Yid and you don't remember. When it comes to anti-Semitism, they don't ask you about which party you voted for. You go down with the entire ship. October 7th taught everybody that. Okay, everybody remember that when they attacked that area, right? That area were most people who were extremely liberal, who actually were very pro-Palestinian, right? There was, I don't know her name, but one of the most pro-Palestinian women. She used to wear the flag and talk about how terrible Israel is. She was killed first.
Yeah. She was the one who went in and took all the Palestinians out to come to Israel for medical care, right?
Yes. Yeah. She would take them to hospitals and this and that.
And she would stand up and tell everybody in the world,
Yes.
they're
Right.
good people. Like,
They're
why
good
is Israel
people.
doing
Why are we doing this? And she was killed first by them. Okay. So we got to be very, very careful because this is real, like you seeing it. Okay. So we know it's interesting. So look at the wording. Like I found it very interesting. Like look at it very carefully. Okay. So it says here, now you're going to worship these strange gods. So Anne was 100% right. All the isms. There's one other strange god that we worship. I see it. Nebuch, and Hashem should help him do tshuva in Chuck Schumer. Okay, so Chuck Schumer is in the Senate. You know what that other god is? Self. You get so full of yourself. Like I'm laughing to see what he does now because I went to that march at Washington. Do you know, in Washington, I went to the march and he got up to speak. First thing he said was, I am the first Jewish person to hold such a prestigious office in Washington. And now you see that all he cares about is holding on. He doesn't really care about the Jewish people. I
don't know about that.
I don't know.
He said, I'm the highest ranking Jew in the government,
right.
So I have to speak up, and say, like, here we were with you, all you liberals, whatever, and now you're turning on us. It was an amazing
it's very hard. It's a very hard story, this story. But now they're saying that he's turning on Israel a lot too.
He is. He's no friend anymore.
And
he's just worried about his own job. So
that's what I'm saying. So this is what it's saying. Here's where we got to be careful. And it's scary for all of us. It's scary for all of us. Okay. You got to be careful because you can lose sight of what's true and you can end up worshiping another God. Do you know what I mean? And compromising on who you are. Right? So that's what I'm trying to say. So now look what it says and tell me what this means. Okay, so be careful, all right? Because you're going to go after this other God. You're going to bow down to them. When you bow down to something, means you're really giving yourself over. V'chara af Hashem bachem. What does that mean? Does anybody know?
Gets angry.
Going to bring God's fury at you.
Yeah. That's an interesting word, that God will be angry. Why do I have a hard time with that word, I got to be honest. Why?
My stepfather, isn't that your nose?
Yes.
My stepfather, when he gets angry, his nose flares.
Yes. And that's
his son always teases him about it.
Exactly. Anne's got it. Okay. That's exactly it. Okay. That's exactly it. So it's a really like a very, what would I call it? A strong descriptive of anger. Okay. Why does this bug me? Why does it bug anybody else? What's this idea of Hashem gets angry? What's so weird about that?
You think he'd be above that?
Yes. Good girl. Okay. You think he'd be above that. Okay. Really, we don't say, we usually don't like to give real character traits. Like if you look in those 13 principles of faith, so it says Hashem doesn't have a body. He doesn't have a this. He doesn't have a that. So the Torah tells you here, it's not that Hashem literally gets angry. But we're speaking in words, okay? We're speaking in words that can relate to a human being, okay? That's what it is. So that when you're reading this, you can be able to relate to it. It's called using the language of man, okay? Now, it's interesting. The Torah tells you when we use this language of man, of feeling this kind of an anger, so to speak, in the Torah, this expression of the flaring nostrils, like Anne was saying, is only in regards to when the Jewish people become idol worshipers. That's interesting. So in other words, like it's an interesting story. Like there's certain things that can really, anybody have that here that really tick you off? You know what I mean? Like you can hold yourself back with a lot of different things, but then there's certain things that tick you off. Like it was funny, one of my older kids, like they just like did this little mimicky thing of me and it really ticked me off. I usually never say a word. And I actually said to them, I'm going to call you on that. And I really hurt and I didn't like it. And they're like, you're so easygoing. I said, yeah, but not here. Okay. Like you crossed the line. Do you know what I'm saying? So this idea of Hashem getting, the Haran off, he gets really angry. He gets ticked off when you cross this line. You know what I mean? Like you ate something not so kosher, okay, like it's not the best. But this, now you ticked me off. So that's just a good thing for us to know, because when you're a kid and you've got parents, you make sure you don't tick them off. Okay, true or false? Okay, you want to be able to use the car. Okay, you want to be able, you know what I mean, to have certain privileges. Be smart. All right, that's what Hashem is saying. Be smart. Now look at what's going on here, which I think is so beautiful, because even when we talk about this kind of incredible anger, v'chora af, like, right? I'm so angry. What word of Hashem do we use? What name for Hashem?
Rachamim.
Yes, amazing, Leora. We use God's name of Rachamim. Okay? It takes a lot for Hashem to be so angry that it's going to be a pure judgment. And when that happens, that's when we got to be super, super careful. And that's when Chalila B'chas, like when God looks at the Jewish people and we've gone too far, and it's pure judgment without mercy, then that means pure judgment without mercy. What's the difference between judgment with mercy? Like you're looking at a story, right? There's consequences that have to come, but I'm still looking with a lens of mercy, versus I'm looking at a story. You've done something you weren't supposed to do, and this is how it falls. What's the difference between the two? Come on,
The
ladies.
difference is mercy, how he's going to
Still
react.
loving us.
Yes, say that again. Yes, so it's
Still
how.
loving us.
Say that again, sorry.
He's still loving us. He cares about us.
You. I think even with judgment, Hashem may still be loving you. But Sandy, what do you mean when like it's the way he's going to?
If you're doing something that is really nasty and mean and you're being hurtful to somebody, as opposed to doing something inadvertently, you do it, but you don't realize that you're causing damage. So it's the way you do it, that's the way Hashem will treat you.
Interesting. So, that could very well be. You're saying like that's a mida keneged mida. Like if the Jews like spitefully go, oh yeah, you know what I mean? Like that type of stuff. You're probably right. I mean, I can imagine that you're probably right, because that's usually the rule of the game. So I understand that. The difference when Hashem is judging us and judging us with mercy, sometimes like
favorable eye. He's getting them with a favorable eye.
Yes. Okay. There's leniencies. Do you know what I mean? He'll be a little more gentle. Like they say for Rosh Hashanah, right? Like Hashem is trying to judge you with mercy, meaning he's really taking the whole entire picture and looking at it. Like if this is going to cause harm to your kids or harm to this or harm to that, like, you're taking everything in and you're going to give them that second chance and that kind of stuff. So this is a beautiful idea, okay? That Hashem is saying, yeah, I get angry, but I still have my mercy. And what's my mercy when someone does something wrong? Is Hashem always wants to give you a second chance to correct it. All right? That's very, very important. And that's a very beautiful way for us to act too. Okay, so like when people, you know, how many times, like we all make mistakes, right? You forget this, you forget the appointment, you didn't call the person, and it was your birthday, was, you know, like, you know, um, I grew up in a family of Holocaust survivors. So to us, like birthdays, this kind of stuff wasn't so important.
Ours was.
But like after you were like 5 or 6, good enough. Okay. You know what I mean? The rest of the time, fend for yourself, you know, like so I have a sister-in-law who is totally the opposite. Like everything is the biggest deal, you know? So you know how many times, like I don't remember to tell her my kids had a baby, blah, blah, blah. So I'll put it on the WhatsApp, you know? Anyways, I put it on the WhatsApp. She came to visit. She says, "Oh, you know, if you wouldn't have put it on the WhatsApp, I wouldn't have even known." So I said, "Listen, I put it on the WhatsApp. That's how I do it." You know, I don't know about this personal call my brother and tell him. You know what I'm just trying to say. So it's, you know what I mean. And I said, Shem is saying, okay, you know what? Like, let's figure a way to do it better. You know what I mean? I'll give you a chance. Like my anger comes with mercy, so to speak, because it isn't because I want to take revenge, right? And it isn't because I'm frustrated. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if you, and it isn't because I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Like if you stop and you think about, like, let's go to why we get angry, right? So a lot of times, you know, you like hangry, you know, you're hungry or whatever. Halt, right? What's halt again? Does anybody know? Like, don't do anything when you're hungry, you're angry, you're lonely, or you're tired. Okay, because that's when you get yourself into big, you know, big mistakes when you make decisions from there. So this is not Hashem. Like Hashem doesn't have those qualities and character traits. His so-called anger, it looks like it's angry, is to redirect you. Okay, so it's interesting. There was like this amazing rabbi. I can't remember here if it was the Berditchever. I don't. I know I have the name. I don't know where I put it right now. Oh, Rav Zalman. No, not Rav Zalman. Okay. I can't remember who it is, but I'll find it later when I look in the notes. But anyway, so it was an interesting story. So his sons with the family said a story about him. Whenever he was angry, so to speak, you know, the kids did something wrong and he needed to direct them, he would say, "Wait here." Okay. And they would have to wait for a few minutes. He'd walk over. He had a special hat. He said, "I'm putting on my angry hat."
That's great.
He put on his angry hat and then he would talk louder. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like a cute idea. Okay, first of all, that gives him some time. You know what I mean? To calm down and not to, you know, say something from anger. And also it sort of shows the kids like, I love you, but you need some help right now. Like you need some redirection. Right. So it's just a very, I thought it was like such a cute idea. And he only put that angry hat on, not when he was frustrated, not when he was mad, not when he was tired. He had to really direct his children. Do you know what I mean? And he had to like, sometimes if you don't raise your voice, they don't even notice you. Have you ever seen this? Especially today. Like today, people are on that phone. The kids are on the phone. They're like they're in la la land, and so are we. Right? We're no different. Like we're in the same la la land. People are trying to talk to you or address you. You're like, what? Yeah, right? You're gone. And sometimes, you know, that's what has to happen, right? Okay. So now, this is very interesting because what we talk about here, it's interesting. Like Hashem says, like he will get angry, right? And then he says, I'm going to give you some little signs. And this is very important for us to know. Like the Brisker Rav says, Hashem meets out warnings or challenges in small doses. But if you don't get the small dose, God forbid, then what happens? Comes out in a much bigger dose. So we have to be really like aware, you know, when things are going on, that's a little bit of a call and not to ignore it and not to go, oh, that's just an accident. That's just by chance. So that's a no. It's Hashem going, no. Okay. So it says here, like, you know, the skies will withhold the rain and then there'll be a drought and you know all, and then it says very interesting, and it says, "Va'avadatem mehera me'al ha'aretz hatova." you will be sent out very quickly from the good land. What's the good land that we're talking about here?
Eretz Yisrael. Yeah.
So this is something that I think is hard for us to understand, especially thousands of years of being in exile. Hard for us to really appreciate it. But the Jewish people, Israel, and Torah are all connected. And really, the holiest place on earth is Israel. And the place that every Jew should be is Israel. And the place where we can do the most of the commandments is in Israel. We can't really do them outside of Israel. A lot of them do not even pertain outside of Israel. And the only reason that we do them is so that we don't forget them. Okay, like, this mitzvah of taking challah, right, which we love to do, does not pertain outside of Israel. It's really a mitzvah only inside of Israel. And we're only doing it so that we don't forget it. Okay, so Hashem says, I'm going to move you quickly off that land. Because what's the problem with this Israel? Israel is a holy land. God said it. What does that mean to be kadosh? What does holy mean? Someone give me a definition.
Separate yourself.
Yeah. Separated, and it's two words, okay? You need to remember this. Separated and dedicated. It's separated from the rest of the world and dedicated.
Hashem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So when something is holy, an object is holy, the Torah is holy, it's separated. It's not a book that you put on the bookshelf. You never find a whole Sefer Torah on a bookshelf, right? Where do you find it?
Front and center.
Yes, front and center in an arrow. It has its own special container. And what is the Torah? Do you just go over to take the Torah out and go, gee, I'm kind of interested in reading about the Parsha? Do we do that? No, it's dedicated, okay, in the service of Hashem. So that's what we got to realize. And this is something I think that's very hard for the Jewish people to face because we're called a holy nation. And I think it's really hard for us. And we don't have to feel guilty. And it doesn't mean we're special. It means we have a very responsible job. And that's it. And to be able to have that responsible job, the Torah tells you you need to be separated from the other nations. Why? And we see why. Because if not, we forget who we are. And the temptations of everything else is really great. And the body, I always tell people who come like to exercise, when you came to exercise, you know who made the decision? Body or soul? Who made it?
Body.
Nope. When you come to exercise?
Oh, really?
Yes. Who made the decision?
Well, the soul then.
Soul. Good for you. The soul. Because guess what body wants to do?
Nothing.
Yes. You got it. Body who sit on the couch, okay, and scroll on the phone. That's what body wants to do. So it really is a very soulful decision if you do, you know what I mean? If you do want to come. So this is what we have to realize, right? So if we don't stay separate and we don't stay focused on the job, it is very easy to forget who we are. And it's very, very easy for the body to take over, right? So we just need to remember all this. So Hashem is trying to tell you right here and right now, like, you're going to a very holy and special land. And fortunately, in fact, that part of the job is to remember who you are and to stay separate and to stay dedicated. And if not, then this land isn't for you. And what does the Torah tell you? It will vomit you out. Okay? It will just it won't be able to hold you. So it's very important. And therefore, all these mitzvahs that we're talking about, they're very mikvah and all these mitzvahs in the land of Israel. If you look in the land of Israel, you go on a tour, everywhere you go, there's 100 ancient mikvahs. Okay, right? Every minute, here's a mikvah, there's a mikvah, everywhere mikvah, right? Because it all revolves around this idea of being holy. You know what I mean? So it's just a very beautiful idea. And why would Hashem want to get us out as fast as possible? Because he wants to get you back in as fast as possible. Okay? So when you've done something, I know, see, for us, 2,000, 3,000 years isn't fast. But God is beyond time. So to him, it's like, wow. Okay, meanwhile, we're sitting here going, excuse me. Okay. Okay. Do you hear what I'm saying? But Lamaisa. Okay. Very good. Okay. All right. So we said, okay, beautiful. So it's a very interesting story. You know, that David HaMelech, he was always able to appreciate everything that Hashem did. He never looked, it's very interesting. Like, you know, when people get punished, right? A lot of times it's very hard for us to self-reflect, and you like to look around to see who else to blame. You know, I got caught because of you, and I didn't really do it. It was somebody else. And, you know, like we love to do that kind of thing. And it's interesting because David HaMelech, he writes like in Tehillim, he writes like, Shivtecha umishantecha hema yanachamuni. Shivtecha mishantecha is two different kinds of sticks. Okay? So one is the stick that could be a little bit of punishment, right? And one is the stick that is your support. You know, like when you walk, you have a walking stick. So he says, like, I appreciate them both. And they both give me comfort. So there's a idea that Rav Zalman Meltzer says. So Rav Zalman Meltzer says that, you know, there was a boy and his father, and they were walking in the forest and it was getting dark. And the father kept saying to this boy, please, like, hold onto my hand. No, I don't want to hold your hand. So he said, you better walk beside me. If you're not going to hold my hand, you walk beside me. Don't walk off. Because if you get lost in a forest, it is extremely difficult to find you. So, of course, what did the kid do? He walked off. Already walked off. Now it's dark, and like the father is in like a panic, and the son is in a panic, and the son is just, he doesn't know where to go. He's just wandering around in the dark. And finally, he gets this tap on the shoulder, and he turns around, and the father gives him a good patch. Father. And the kid's like, what? What? And starts crying. But as much as he was crying because he got the patch, he was really crying because his father found him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So when I was very little, I lived downtown, and in those days there was a lot of these fire escapes. Does anybody remember these? Like the iron fire escapes. Okay, so I must have been 6 years old. I would climb up these fire escapes, and there was a lot, you'd end up on the rooftop. You know, there's a lot of these flat roofs. Do you know what I'm talking about? On these flat. So one day I thought it would be such a cute idea. I was going to jump from roof to roof.
Oh, no.
And I did it. I jumped back and forth from roof to roof. I'm jumping like this. And my father saw me. Oh boy. I came down. I got touched. Okay, from where my father's store was all the way back to my house, which was probably 5 blocks.
Mm-hmm.
The whole time, non-stop. And I will tell you that I will never forget it. And as much as I was crying, there was a part of me that totally understood that what I did was nuts. You know what I mean? Was really dangerous. And I really had to be very grateful that my father actually cared. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I remembered from it. I remember being really embarrassed. I remember crying because everybody was in the street when my father wouldn't stop. Like it wasn't like a beating, but you know what I mean? Like a patch to remind me. And you know what I'm saying? It was just an interesting thing. And I remember at the end, like actually saying like, thank you. You know what I mean? Because I was being so crazy. I would have, Khalil, I could have died. You know what I mean? You could like really get hurt jumping rooftop. I wasn't Spider-Man. Okay. Anyway, so this is it. Like sometimes Hashem redirects you. And sometimes, you know, like as a Jewish nation, as painful as it is, there is a part that Hashem is saying, I'm never going to give up on you and I'm not going to lose you. You know, I can't. And usually when it gets very bad is Khalila when the assimilation rate is really, really great. When the assimilation rate is so great that we're almost going to disappear, right? Then Hashem says, like, I've been trying a lot of ways to get your attention.
Mhm.
Now I have to really take it and show you, you know? So, Mitzvah Shem, we should not have to go through these kinds of things, but you know what I'm trying to say, okay? Yeah, okay, so the rabbi who put the hat on, I'm so happy I saw it, was Reb Baruch Ber Leibowitz,
Mhm.
right? Okay, 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 beautiful. Okay, so what did the Hashem says, okay, we got it. We got it. So now you got to come back. All right. Or you should not get off the path. Both things. Hashem's trying to tell you, I'm going to have to take you away from this land that I gave you. So I'm going to tell you now, let's avoid all these problems. Okay. Baruch Hashem, good idea. Hashem's saying, let's avoid these issues. So I'm going to tell you how you're going to be able to avoid them. All right. How? So one is put on your tefillin. Okay, put tefillin on every morning. If you're a man, put the tefillin on every morning. For men and women, teach Torah, learn Torah, teach it to your children. Okay, try your very best. You teach it to your children. It's very, very interesting. And what do you want? Teach it to your children when you're sitting in the house and when you're going on the way and when you're resting and when you get up. Like, you know, the little kids before they go to sleep, we teach them to say Shema. They wake up in the morning, you teach them to say Moda Ani, and you teach them what it really means. Okay, that is a very important part. The Torah says two different ways of teaching. It says Vishinantam, and then it says that you should also, like here it is, hold on, Vilimaditem. Okay, so two different words. One, you have to learn what to do. That makes sense. You know, just practical. People need to know the practical halacha. You know, how do you light your Shabbos candles? What time do you light your Shabbos candles? You know, certain like basics that we have to know. Because unfortunately, sometimes people light their Shabbos candles. Shabbos already started, right? So Torah tells you you can't really light your candles after sunset, right? So it's not a mitzvah anymore. Do you know what I mean? So you need to know some of the basics. But then the Torah says that's not enough. You can't say I went to, you know, I learned Torah and I graduated high school. It's not enough. The Torah tells you got to learn the depth. You have to learn the meaning. You can't just know that surface, right? Or, you know, I went to Talmud Torah, I went to after school Hebrew school, now I know enough. You know how many people say things like that? They do. I had enough Judaism, right? How many people? I remember I was in a bookstore. I was like gonna cry. I literally was gonna cry. This woman was buying a bag for her tefillin for her son. Okay, 13-year-old son. She came to buy the talis, the tefillin bag. You know, they're very pretty, they're embroidered. So the guy behind the counter said, you know what, I recommend you should also buy the plastic. You know what I mean? You know, the plastic, so that you put the bag in the plastic, it will preserve it. So she said, no, don't worry about it. He's never going to use it more than at his bar mitzvah. That one time will be enough. It's not, you know what I mean? And I just felt so bad because it's like it's not that wasn't it's not like it wasn't chutzpah or intentional. It's someone who really just doesn't know. You know, you don't wear your tefillin more than for the pictures. Do you know what I'm saying? Why? Because you don't know what tefillin are. It's not because anyone is doing anything intentional. It's they just don't really know. And if you know it only on a very basic level, it looks very silly. Do you know what I'm saying? But if you understand more the depth, what does it mean to give your heart and your mind? And it's a cross and it's a full body experience, and the heart and the head are connected. And you know what I mean? This whole thing, right? You know what I'm trying to say? So that's what the Torah is telling you here. If you want to see these things preserved and you want to be able to do what is right, right? Then you need help. You need some of these little extras that Hashem gave us for this reason. And one of the other ones is the mezuzah. And in the mezuzah, you see the Shema. So Rabbi Victor Miller tells everybody, you know, sometimes you just take a seat, take a breath, be present, look at your mezuzah, and say, wow, you know, this mezuzah has a lot. It's not just a lucky charm and a horseshoe. You know what I mean? Like that you put over the barn door. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot more. Like God is with me. He's here. He's watching my family. Right? He tells me, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. He tells me, Shin Daled Yud, I gave you what you need and you need what I gave you. You know what I'm saying? Like all these beautiful ideas. Okay, so I think we're gonna stop here because it was a lot of incredible information. Okay, and what I think we should do now, is say that to Helen. Okay, and this will also be a beautiful merit for, I want to say it again, Zev ben Yitzchak Mendel Halevi. Maybe a big merit for him. Okay, so everybody look for 121. Okay. All right. And I am going to, wait a minute. I am going to stop the recording.